I'm Meher on trauma, flashbacks and healing. I believe one of the most misunderstood concepts among the general public is what trauma really is. We do consider a car accident as traumatic, but not emotional neglect during developmental years. This could probably be because the after effect of the former is instantly evident, but that of the latter lives within the person and hence is not on the surface for the public to see. Trauma is anything that's beyond the ability of one's nervous system to cope up with. It's not just what happened, it's also what did not happen, and that's something we all tend to forget. A lack of emotional attunement and co-regulation to the child during the crucial years leave the child with absolutely no skills for emotional regulation as they grow up and making life extremely painful. Speaking of it metaphorically, it's as if there's a thorn on your hand and it hurts, but you don't know how to use your fingers and remove the thorn. As ridiculous as it sounds, that is how it is for a child who hasn't been taught how to regulate their emotions. The child grows up without knowing that they have the capacity to regulate himself or herself, and either ends up depending on other people to do it for them, which makes them appear as clingy and needy. Otherwise, they appear to withdraw and numb out the emotions, both of which are detrimental. It's this very thing, this very either attunement or lack of attunement during the first many months of a child's life, which plays a major role in determining a lot of child's future close relationships. What is traumatic for one person needn't necessarily be traumatic for someone else, and that's a crucial point. Which reminds me of emotional flashback, which is, I believe, a very less talked about phenomena, which is an after effect of certain kinds of trauma, wherein a trigger makes the person experience extremely intense emotions from the past which hasn't been processed properly, and that very reaction might seem disproportionate to the event of the present. This is because the rational brain shuts down and the primitive parts are activated, hence one can't quite think clearly during an emotional flashback. Something that's seemingly silly for someone might as well be a trigger that sends the other person spiraling down. Trauma is not just in the head, the body keeps the score too. Even if one changes their thought patterns, as long as their nervous system is dysregulated, they are very likely to experience somatic symptoms and even emotional flashbacks. And processing these memories is not a painless process. Another phenomena associated with complex trauma is the savior fantasies, where the traumatized individual fantasizes about someone external coming and saving them from their own emotional baggage, which is pretty hard to carry on. Talking about trauma makes me want to point out one of the most impressive benefits of trauma recovery, and that is to no longer be a victim of the inevitable emotional pain. I believe, just as many other people point out, that emotional pain can be classified into inevitable and evitable, where the former is the pain that's part of life, the pain that comes as part of being human, the pain that's gonna be there as long as we have emotions. The inevitable pain is, on the other hand, the pain that we know that we needn't feel because there's no logical reason for it to be there, but it's still there. One of the simplest examples is feeling the pain of abandonment when a text is left unread. And now that might sound silly, but for someone with an abandonment wound, even that can feel as painful as actual abandonment. If one were to track back how the abandonment wound develops and what signs it gives to the brain, this scenario is going to make absolute sense. The awareness about trauma can be extremely helpful because it helps people be more empathetic and understanding, and make people suffering from it realize that it's not their fault.